Right, so I'm wearing a bit more PPE, personal protective equipment, than I was earlier on. I've now got a rubber apron and these long gloves, gauntlets, as well as a full face mask. So it's basically what you want to avoid is any contact, bodily contact with the paint stripper, and you certainly don't want it on your face or in your eyes. But in the event of an accident, we have a little eye wash kit here, which should sort of come in if you have an emergency. So I always keep it at hand. So as I explained before, use an old biscuit tin as a container for the paint stripper, and the lid comes in nice and handy for scraping. There's not much in the way of polish to take off. It's a very thin coat, so what you have there is more than adequate. So you have to always be careful when pouring this out. You keep the nozzle at the top, and just so there we are, so it doesn't splash out. I think my father was taught that in the army, and he's always sworn by that. So when we're putting the paint stripper on, we need to put it on very liberally, like so. In fact, you want to pour it on. What you don't want to do, which a lot of people make the mistake, is to put it on like a paint. What happens is the actual polish will melt when it reacts with it. It'll bubble up, and then because there's so little, so little of the paint stripper on it, it just sets again. And when you come to try and scrape it, it's hard again. So you can't use too much, as it were. So there we are. And it doesn't take very long for the polish to react. And it's starting to bubble up already. I think, as I said earlier, I'll be putting a list of all the materials and the type of strippers I recommend in the lesson plan. And also, before you do anything like this, you must read the health and safety documents in the lesson plan and take all the precautions I'm taking. Don't try to do this without a face mask. Here we are. And then I just take a painter's scraper, basically, and you can see this one, it's got nice round edges, so it doesn't dig in. But basically, this surface is sacrosanct. You don't want to be putting scratches on it, because it is a historic surface. All these little scratches and dents, some of them may be 100 years old, all probably got a story behind them. So what we want to do is try and keep that story without losing it. But at the same time, if something's really badly damaged, we want to sort of be able to sort of repair that sympathetically. So there we go. Oh, there we are. Starting to go. I think I'll put a bit more stripper on it. It's a bit thin there. And of course, you'd only strip an antique piece of furniture of its finish as a last resort, because most of the value and all of its beauty is in its finish. That finish has taken decades to produce. And it's what we call a patina, a patination. And it's through long-term wear and use that certainly a polished surface will have a finish that is unique. And it's partially through the way that the sun has sort of shone on it and made a different sort of shading. And also, if you've got a piece of furniture that's had a sort of dust on top of it, over the years, as people have gone by and got a duster and dusted it, it's built up a sort of a micro burnishing that it gives a finish that you can't emulate, you can't reproduce it. So basically, the finish is really important that you don't destroy it. In this case, there's no other alternative because the whole table has to be repolished. So this is only a table leaf out of a much bigger table. So there we are. It's coming off lovely. So there we are. See how much has come off there. Yeah. Quite therapeutic, this. Now, when we've stripped all this fully, there will be some minor repairs to do, and we'll cover that. But you've got to bear in mind that depending on what kind of table you're stripping, I mean, this is solid mahogany, but you may have a surface which is got a veneer. So obviously you're going to have to deal with that in a much different way than if it's actually solid wood. But we'll go on about veneer repairs and how to deal in another video. I think I'm going to have to give this another coat of the paint stripper because it's still bits that haven't really gone. But as you can see, it's not a difficult process, and not really hard work. It shouldn't be hard work. You shouldn't have to be scraping like this. It should just be quite easy. I'll just pop you there. There's a few parts that haven't really received the stripper as it should have done. It's just at the very end there. We'll paint that over there. There we are. A few high points. And then I'll just use that up. And then we'll lovely. Just let that work. And we'll just try pour a bit more in here because we've got another little job to do once this is scraped. Enough. And this is a 2.5 litre tin. I would recommend you get a 5 litre tin if you're going to do any sort of quantity of stripping. Right, see how this is doing. Yeah, that's much better. Now, you may actually work on some newer pieces of furniture, and maybe stuff that's only been made for the last 20-30 years. Now, if you're sort of stripping them, the finish will be a lot thicker, because it'll be a sprayed on finish, and unlike French polish, which soaks into the grain as it were, all the new finishes, they just stand on top. So you may end up spending quite a time actually stripping, and you may need to do this a number of times. But the whole thing about it shouldn't be hard work, and it's not. Well, we've probably taken off a finish that's been on 150 years, 200 years perhaps. So the last person to do work on this piece of furniture is probably very long time in the ground, I would imagine. There we are. Happier with that. So, next job is to apply more paint stripper, nice and thickly. And this time, you use a piece of coarse steel wool to get rid of all the last bits of polish that reside on this tabletop, and just let it work in a bit. So all things I'm describing here will be written into the lesson. All the product details, what you need to use, and a description of what we're doing, a written description. So, use a bit of coarse steel wool. What we do, we just rub it into the grain in the direction of the grain, don't go against the grain. And this will lift all the residue bits of polish. Like so. I think there's harder ways of making a living. So you can see on the steel wool it's actually brought a lot off. And then we use a rag just to wipe off the paint stripper that we have on, that we put on. Now, you'll find once you start to do this more often, you won't be able to get enough rags, basically. So, any opportunities, somebody's throwing something away, don't pass it, because you will use a lot of rags in this process. Just a bit there that's bubbled up. That's it. And this piece will actually go through the full French polishing of it, the whole process. Lovely. Right, we'll do that a second time. So the remainder, this will clean up the remainder of the paint stripper that we've poured out. So I'm starting to see little marks, and I'm going to be deciding what to do with them. In fact, what we'll do is I'll get the client in, we'll have a chat just to see how he wants it finishing. This table's been in his family for quite a few generations, so we only want the best for it. So it'll be a measure of our success, how delighted they are for it, with the finished result. And it should be ready for them to have their Christmas lunch on. There we are. And again, we'll get a piece of steel wool. Just dip it in what's left. And start again with the grain, just gently. There we are. And again with a cloth. Just find a nice clean piece. And then there's a health and safety document about how we're going to dispose of all this, because obviously it's not good for the environment, so it has to be disposed of carefully. So that's in the lessons. Here. There we are. Right. You see the cloth is fully loaded with the remnants of that polish. So next thing I want to do is neutralise the paint stripper. Now, if we didn't, all would happen is if we sort of polished on top of this surface or whatever we put on, eventually it would be rejected because this would still be working. So this neutralises it. It also gets rid of any bits of old polish and paint stripper that's in the sort of the grain. So just use it liberally, like so. And of course, squeezy bottle is brilliant. So again, piece of coarse steel wool, and just rub with the grain, just gently. And of course, methylated spirits will actually dilute polish on its own. You could, in theory, just use methylated spirits to get rid of the old polish. In some conservation work, that's what you use, because sometimes you just want to take off a layer. And be very careful. On the right piece of furniture, a piece of real historic value, you can just get away with using methylated spirits, because French polish is made up of shellac flakes, and it's diluted in methylated spirits. So if you get some shellac flakes, put them in a jar, we'll do all this later, and pour methylated spirits on, you've got French polish. And then just a clean rag, we'll run out of clean rags here. And it's just, again, with the grain, you see that's coming off now. And the beauty of using methylated spirits to do this is this job will be ready for the next process in about a quarter of an hour. because whatever's on here will evaporate out. There we go. And we do it once more. So, on methylated spirits and the old steel wool. And if you have a piece of furniture that's not in a bad condition, but the actual finish of the polish is looking a bit dull and drab, you can actually revive that finish by using a furniture restorer from Cleaner, which you can buy. You buy it from a hardware shop, DIY store. But you don't need to do that because you can make your own, and I've got the recipes on the in the lessons. So in fact, what we'll do, we will actually do a video on it. So just how to sort of clean furniture and how to re-wax it. So without much effort, you'll be able to get a piece of furniture looking its best again, and it won't cost much. And people, if you're going to be like a professional restorer, people will pay good money for that. And it should be part of the sort of process, for argument's sake. If you're a professional restorer and somebody wants some chairs repaired, perhaps reupholstery, you do all the repairs and then give them a good clean with the furniture restorer, and give them a wax polish, and then send them to the upholsterers, and the chairs will come back as good as new. If that's the right term or not, I don't know. So there we are. That's about the end of that. We've got all the dirt off. So the next process is we're going to do some treatment on the surface. Now, see, there's a little hole there that's appeared. I didn't really notice it before when it was polished. So we'll end up filling that. There's sort of slight scratches on the surface, which we'll get rid of. But in itself, you don't want to do much with that surface. You could, for argument's sake, if you had a big drum sander, you could stop. You could just not do this, and you could just put it through the drum sander. But you don't want to do that, because the thing is, we've got a thing of beauty here, and obliterating it with a machine drum sander would be absolutely sacrilege. So we're not going to do that. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something. And we'll move on to the next video shortly. Thanks for watching.